Welcome home to Homespun, a weekly internet gathering of family, friends, and businesses from Platte County. Our purpose is to connect our community and showcase the colorful threads that run through our tapestry. Grab a warm cup of hometown goodness, sit back, put your feet up, and visit with us a while. I'm your host, Mark DeLapp, and I bring to you portions of interviews from some of our own. Welcome home, Platte County, to Homespun. We had an interview about 6 months ago, and we talked about different things that were going on here at the nursing home and things like that. And things have changed drastically since then.
Very much.
It's getting almost crazy out there.
Yeah.
And until we get a some kind of relief or a antibody, I guess we're going to be. This is the new normal.
Right.
So what has changed in the last 6 months here?
Really everything, and it seems to be ever changing. The biggest, most recent change right now is the PPE that we have to wear. The residents have to be in isolation. We had to quit our indoor visitation and outdoor visitation. The reason being because the positivity rate in Platte County went up, so we have to react to that as well as positives. So we had 2 residents who tested positive for COVID, and in total we've had 7 staff members.
Okay.
So we have to react to those situations, and that's what we're doing right now.
Sure. Well, to quote a phrase from a movie, it is the cold and flu season.
Yeah.
So that's just something that we're going to go through.
Yeah.
With a disease that's got a 99% recovery rate, I think it's a little extreme, but that's my personal opinion. How are the residents handling this?
This is so hard on them. It's heartbreaking, really. They're not able to see their family. Of course we do Skype and Zoom, not the same thing.
Right.
They haven't been able to touch or hold hands with the family member or friend for months and months. And their whole routine here has changed. The way we have to do activities, the way we have to eat meals, the way that staff can enter and exit their rooms. Everything has changed for them, and it's awful. A lot of them are so sick of it. They're sick of being in their rooms. Some of them don't understand why they can't see their families and why they can't come out of their rooms when we're on isolation. So that's probably the worst part. The worst part for them. It's the lack of human contact.
Well, I think they're coming from a generation that's maybe a little smarter than we are.
Right.
You can't fool them, first of all.
Right.
And, you talk about when we start getting older, we get to be grumpy old men.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with a different thing altogether.
Right.
So when all of these changes started to happen and the whole paradigm's switched as far as the way you run nursing homes now or assisted facility centers, what, as far as the coming into the holidays here, what are you going to do? And this is the first holiday season you've had since this happened.
Right.
Last year was a whole different ball game. I mean, they had the festivities and the lights and the Christmas caroling and all this other good stuff. And I know that we did the thing with the lighting the other day, which will really help a little bit. In fact, are the lights lit now?
Some of them are, not all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, Scott's kind of trying to figure out why some sections are and some sections aren't.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to come in maybe tomorrow night after it gets dark around 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And if I can find a window where I can get an elderly patient looking out, I'll shoot the tree and the elderly patient
Yeah.
and kind of get that as the main picture.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I'll see if I can't think of somebody
Okay.
that would be good to stand.
Yeah, and then you can show me where they are, you know,
Yeah.
in the building, things
Yep.
like that. Okay, let's go back to going into the holidays. What are you guys planning? I mean, this is Thanksgiving, and they're not going to be able to see their families for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Right.
It's almost like a prison situation,
Right.
and it's almost like a death sentence for a lot of these people.
Right. So we are kind of handling it the same way as everything else. Basically, we're very restricted to what our options are. So again, Skype meetings, Zoom meetings, the phone calls. We still have family members coming to windows,
Okay.
you know, to see each other. But right now, since we are in the isolation, because when a staff member or a resident tests positive, from that day that they were tested for 14 days, we have to be in what we call the yellow zone, which is isolation. So Thanksgiving is still going to be in that time frame.
Yeah.
So they're still going to have to eat in their rooms, you know, away
They're gonna have
from
to
the
eat
dining room.
eat in their rooms. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yep. So there's not a whole lot that we can do to bring them together, you know, like we would traditionally do.
Right.
There will, of course, still be the meal, the Thanksgiving meal. And our activities people are great. They go up and down the halls and they think of all these different hallway activities to do with them.
Right.
So we'll still keep them engaged as much as we possibly can, but it's definitely not going to be the same.
So what are the activities like here then? Are they still going on as usual, or?
Not as usual. They've had to be tweaked quite a bit, you know,
Creative?
because when we go into someone's room, when a staff member goes into a resident's room, we have to have the gown on, the gloves, the N95, the face shield, and then when you go out, of course, you have to take all of that off. And so, and then when you go back into another room, you got to PPE up again and do the same thing. So it's a little bit different. So what they have been doing is carts. The other day they did sugar cookies and juice, went up and down the hall, played music, talked to the residents, you know, that were in the doors, and they've done a ball where they go down the hall, throw the ball, catch the ball, sanitize the ball, throw the ball, catch the ball, you know,
Wow.
things of that nature.
Sure.
So they're still coming up with things to do,
Right.
but definitely way different than what our residents are used to.
Have you asked the residents if they would like to come up with some ideas to see if maybe they could get an input in things? Because it's
Yeah.
like if it comes from them, it's going to be easier than maybe if it comes from you guys, because then it's not that fight constantly. It's
Right.
like, well, this is you know, John's suggestion, and we thought it was a pretty good suggestion, and we're going to go with it. Then you're going to have people coming out of the woodwork at you in here with ideas.
Right, right.
Have you done any of that?
Not necessarily that. I think that is a good idea. But one of the cool things that our activity director came up with for Thanksgiving, kind of printed out a colored paper that said "I'm thankful for," and passed out to each of the residents.
Sure.
And had them write a little encouraging note to each other. And then so, you know, since they're all in this together.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, the idea is to kind of remind them that even though we're not seeing each other right now, we're all still here, we're in this
Right.
together, going through the same thing.
Right.
And so kind of give them a positive way. So she did that, and then took them and gave them to, dispersed them.
How are they going to handle the Christmas presents at Christmas? Are they going to be able to receive Christmas presents since it's coming from the outside
Right.
to the?
So that will really depend on where we're at. Several different areas, you know, county positivity, of
Right.
course, and then where we're at with our staff and resident positivity. Yeah. So far, we've been able to do that. We're fine
Okay.
with being able to, you know, people will leave things for their loved ones, and
Yeah.
we're able to take it to them. So
Okay.
hopefully that's how that will go
Sure.
as well. And hopefully we'll be able to actually, you know, it'll just be back to the social distancing and masks and not this isolation that we're in now.
Oh, right. Well, which is really rough, especially here around the holidays.
Oh, yeah, terrible.
You know, I was kind of hoping that they'd have a vaccine out by now, but
Yeah.
they're still running behind. But I think that when they do come out with a vaccine, I know Pfizer's got one that's just ready to be marketed right now, that I think the nursing homes are going to be first.
Right.
And, you know, I think that's probably a good thing. People say, are you going to get the vaccine? And I'm like, you know, I get a flu shot every year, so I guess I don't see the difference in it. But,
Right.
you know, I guess when you see, you know, one of the presidential candidates standing up saying this is going to be a dark winter, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I really, really do. I think it's, although I feel like, you know, we do see the light at the end here because with the talks of the vaccine. But for one, the vaccine, once it's going to be hard to get, you know, not everyone's going to be able to access that at once.
Right.
Once you do get it, then you have to wait 28 days, get the booster, and then I don't know how long after the booster, you know, it's
Right.
going to take to be effective. So, I mean, that gets us all the way into February.
Sure.
If nursing homes are able to get the vaccine in mid or late December. So,
It might be good.
we're in for the long haul,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, let's go back a little bit with you, Josie. Where are you from?
I'm from Wheatland.
So you were born here in Wheatland?
Yes,
Okay. And did you go to Wheatland High School?
I did. Yep.
Okay. You're one of the entrepreneurs or the young leaders. So when us old people pass the torch on to your younger generation, what are you hoping to accomplish in your generation?
You know, oh, that's a hard question. The reason that I took on the education and career paths that I did was because I wanted to be able to actually give back, do something. You know, feel
Sure.
like the work that I do is makes a difference, I guess.
Sure.
So I would think that's the biggest priority to me. Oh, that goes off sometimes when you don't move.
That's okay.
Oh, thank you.
Gotta be more animated.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's going on Facebook. No. Okay. So to make a difference, you know, it's interesting because I was told my kids, you know, don't just make an appearance, make a difference.
Right.
And you could phone it in every day, or you can go and realize that when you walk out your front door, there's something waiting on the other side where you've got to make a choice.
Right.
Whether you're just going to go through it or you're going to be the leader and go through that with being a difference maker. And I think that's one of the things that you do, Josie.
Yeah.
When you graduated from high school here in Wheatland, where did you go on to at that point?
So actually, I went to EWC in
Okay.
Farrington with the full intentions of becoming a vet tech.
Okay.
Because that's what I did in high school. I worked at the vet clinic.
Did you grow up on a farm here or a ranch?
When I was younger,
Okay.
yeah.
So you were around animals and part of the FFA, things like that?
I never did the FFA.
Okay.
I was more into the horse showing side of
Okay.
things.
Okay.
Yeah. My kids are now in the FFA though,
Sure.
so that's pretty cool. But no, I went to school to do that, and I got into it, and I liked it. You know, I liked the work, but then I thought, no, this isn't really for me. I want to go a little farther than that. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, so I just finished at EWC with my general education. I got into real estate, and I did that. Got married, had my kids. I stayed home with my kids. They were twins. And when
You
they
have
were,
two, so you have 2 kids?
well, I have 3
Okay.
now, but yeah. So when I had my twins, when they were 2, I thought, I'm really ready to do something.
Sure.
I want to do something more than the real estate. So I went back to school online, got my bachelor's in psychology,
Okay.
was thinking, social work or counseling,
Right.
child psychologist, something of that nature. And then, of course, life comes along and happens. And so I didn't go get my master's like I had intended.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, it was in 2013 when I applied for this job not this job, for the social services director for the nursing home.
Sure.
So no prior knowledge at all.
Right.
There's so many things about the nursing home, ins and outs, that I had no idea. So I came into that job, absolutely loved it, just loved it. And last year, my administrator was offered a regional position. And so he came to me and asked me if I would consider applying for the administrator job. Not something I ever thought I would or could do in
Sure.
a million years, honestly. But, my uncle, actually, I was talking to him about it, and he said, I've never regretted the chances that I've taken,
Sure.
but I do regret the chances that I
Didn't take. That's really good.
And so I thought, he's right. I got to go for it.
Yeah.
And I'm strong enough. I can get through it. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of difficult things that.
Well, how many years had you been here before you actually took the administrator position?
So from 2013.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you really had a lot of experience here.
Yes.
And you worked here, so you knew the people, you knew the staff, you knew
Right.
you knew the residents. So that's kind of like on the job training.
Right.
So you actually went back to school to actually prepare for your job.
Right.
And actually that did prepare you. And your
Yeah.
administrator must have seen something in you if they put you into this position.
Right.
And so you made the transition from to the administrator position. What has been the biggest challenge in your change?
The biggest challenge, honestly, is this COVID, this pandemic, because this is something, for one, I'm brand new, trying to learn the daily job, but then 2, trying to navigate and maneuver
Right.
a building through a pandemic that no one has experience with.
Yeah.
It's so very difficult.
None of us have been trained in high school or public education in this country to go through this.
Exactly. Exactly.
But every generation that has come before us has gone through
That's right.
stresses. My grandparents went through World War II, and my parents went through that the bomb scare, in the 60s, and
Oh, yeah.
and things like that. You talk about how life deals things. John Lennon, who said it best, I think, said life is what happens when you're making other plans.
Right.
And
Yep, that's exactly right.
That's exactly what happens.
Yep.
I know when I finally graduated in 2001 from the University of Wisconsin. When I first started out, with a music and I wanted to go into teaching because I wanted to coach basketball. That's all I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
Well, broke my neck after freshman year,
Oh,
and
no.
they said I was going to be a quadriplegic the rest of my life. So I'm laying in a bed at 19 years old,
Oh.
and I'm thinking everything's over. My music scholarship, my athletic scholarship, basketball was my life.
Uh-huh.
So after 6 weeks of absolutely no feeling from here down, all of a sudden I started getting feeling back in it, and
Wow.
which brought a good feeling, but it also brought that pain with the nerve endings, because it feels like, even with the head, when the wind would blow one strand of hair, it would be like 1,000 needles punching into my skin.
Oh my gosh.
So they had me in this circle bed, after I had gotten out and I had regained mobility, they said that it'd be you know, that I would live a sedate life and and things would really be altered and changed for me. Well, you can tell me what I can't do and I'll show you what I can do.
Right.
And by the time I was a senior then in college, then I got drafted to play basketball in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And so played and coached. The elimination of playing right away got me into coaching. So it opened different windows for me.
Yeah.
And even now, you know, where I'm still out there playing on the basketball court and knocking around with the kids and coaching. And last year I ran 33 5Ks. So, you know, for
Wow.
somebody who was not supposed to do anything
Right.
at all, I feel pretty fortunate. But again, life taught me I had to take different paths and different roads to
Yeah.
do things, you know,
Yeah.
and I think that's what happened to you too.
Right.
Although mine was pretty much a forced, you're going to change your, you know,
Right.
and I changed from music, and I still do the music and things like that. And we did a benefit concert this summer for the Special Olympians here in town and things like that. And but you know, it's so funny how life just changes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I did get a chance to go back and get my master's then too from there. But any chance of you wanting to pursue that after you feel a little more comfortable here after the COVID is over?
And getting my master's
Yeah.
in like business administration or something.
Yeah, that's what I've got mine in.
Possibly. Right now, it's hard to even think about
Sure.
between what's going on here and then my kids are so busy. It's
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my youngest graduated from high school 3 years ago, so I just you know, that kind of opened up a whole new thing. But
Right.
I was fortunate enough. I was like you. I had a chance to be a stay-at-home dad when I was with one of my sons, and to this day, that bond that we have is closer than any
Oh, yeah.
bond that I have with any of my other kids.
Yeah.
Because I got that opportunity, and I would go to social events, and I was pretty big in the community as far as you know, the stock market and things like this. And so they'd say, well, hey, did you read that article in Forbes today? And here I was a stay-at-home dad for 4 years, and I said, well, no. I said, but Baby Bop was wearing an incredible outfit this morning on Barney. You know?
Yes.
And so it was like you go into different worlds and different things.
It's so true. Yep.
So when your kids finally got old enough so that they went to school, then where did you go from real estate at that point?
So, well, I actually had quit real estate when I was pregnant with them.
Okay.
Or once I had them, actually.
And how old are your twins now?
They are 15.
Okay.
Yep, and then I have a 3-year-old.
Okay.
So when they I stayed home with the twins.
Sure.
And then, so let's see it was about, I went back to work when they were 5. Worked there for, maybe about a year until 2013 when I got this
Sure.
with the social services job.
Sure. What's the most fun part about your job?
Obviously, I think the residents, it really, and especially now, it just really feels like it's like a second family.
Sure.
It really is. And you have so many different people here, so many different personalities, so many stories. You know, it just wouldn't be worth it if it wasn't for them.
Sure.
You know, so that they're definitely my favorite part.
Well, you know, it's kind of like when I was growing up, my grandparents were my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I had a grandfather that was like Ernest Hemingway, who taught us to hunt and fish and all this other good stuff. But I thought to myself, you know, nursing homes, my mom had us in nursing homes since we were, you know, as far as back as I can remember, playing and singing for them and things like this. But, you know, we learned, and I learned from my mom, you know, you don't just go in and just go in and do a job. You go in and
Right.
you go in and you make friends, and you go in and learn. And I think I learned best from her. You know, you can learn all about Pearl Harbor off of your books, but until you actually talk to somebody that was there, you won't understand the passion.
That's exactly right.
And so there's a wealth of knowledge that's dying, and unless we tap into it now, we're never going to feel it.
Right.
I envy you. I mean, you're in a place where you're with like grandparents your whole day.
Right.
I mean, and
That's
sometimes that can be
exactly right.
challenging. I understand.
Oh yeah.
But how cool is that?
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's They're fun. You know, we had a man here. He was, I believe he was 100, almost 101, when he passed away. And there was actually a video made of him. I can't remember what that was called. Do you, Tara?
Yeah, he was 101.
101.
And it was called, oh man.
I know.
I can see the poster and
I
everything.
can too, and I just can't
There's
think
like
of it.
8 of them.
Yeah, it's something the 8.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
But anyways, it was so cool, and a lot of us watched it and talked to him about it, and so it's experiences like that
Yeah.
are, I think, are
For
the
somebody
most
that's
meaningful.
somebody that's actually lived it,
Right.
and you all of a sudden you see and you tap into that energy, and it's kind of a cool thing.
Exactly.
You know, I talked to one guy one time, and he really influenced my life. I mean, when I was in college, he was, you know, in his 80s, and he was still running.
Oh
And I
my
thought to myself,
gosh.
it was so good. But so that made me set my goal, and I've always had this
Right.
goal. I want to be the oldest man ever to run a 5K in America.
Uh-huh.
Well, 40 years from now, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to be kind of a cool thing
Oh yeah, for
for me
sure.
to do that.
Uh-huh.
And I have, you know, in my family, we have the longevity of 100 to 110. And we have that.
Oh wow.
I have a Scottish grandfather that was 110 before he died.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
yeah. So I think it's that Scottish in me. I don't know, but
Uh-huh.
you know, the whole thing is like I said, you pick up passions from the people that you meet.
Right.
What is it like to work with your staff?
You know what? It's the same way. This is like my second family. It really is. You spend so much time with everyone here, and what we're going through right now, I think, has also made us a lot closer.
Yeah.
Because we've all been thrown off balance from our norm and what we're used to in our comfort zone, and we had to rebalance, get together, figure it out. And
Yeah.
it seems like how things continue to change
Right.
constantly. We're having to keep redoing that. And so I think we're pretty special here because we kind of see, you know, where someone else needs help, people are jumping in.
Right.
Most of the time people will jump in to help out,
Sure.
even if it's not your area, not your department. It's really supportive. The staff here, for the most part, is really supportive.
That's awesome. So, and you take on different roles in that too. You're probably a mom to some of the younger ones.
Mm-hmm.
You're almost like a sister to a couple of the others, and then you maybe have the elderly that you're
Right.
kind of yeah. So
Yeah,
it's,
completely.
so
yeah.
you have to play different roles. You have to wear different hats here.
Yep.
What do you do when you have a bad day, Josie? What do you do to unwind when you get away from the facility, you get away from the frustration, get away from the COVID? Somebody might be watching this or might be listening to this and say, you know, I don't understand how she can do what she does.
Right.
And then what do you do on a bad day?
You know, honestly,
Don't say Jack Daniels, because that's not a...
yeah. Well, this isn't a very good answer either, but when I leave here, then it's almost like I start my second job. I, you know, chase kids, make dinner, clean up the house, and bath time, and I don't have time to dwell much on a bad day.
Right.
If I have a really bad day, then I will reach out to a friend and visit about
Sure.
that and vent a little bit. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I really don't have time to dwell on bad days.
Do you ever put your 15-year-olds in charge and say, I just need some time?
No,
You don't ever do that.
no.
Oh my. So do you get any alone time? Do you get any time for you?
You know.
Or are you
yeah,
going to do that
I
later on
do.
in life?
Yeah, well, for the most part, yeah, I think so. I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot of alone time. But, you know, I think the reason why I can do it and continue to do it is because I make that line, I shut it off.
Sure.
Once I'm home, I'm home. And of course, I'm always thinking I'm always here.
Right.
But when
Right.
I'm home, I'm home. And I'm able to sit down on the couch with my kids and watch TV and just kind of enjoy that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, my stress is up to here some days, and
Yeah.
that's a little harder to do.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I think you know, it's when I'm there, I'm there.
Sure. What do you do when you have the stress levels? How do you deal with that?
You know, I don't really have anything in particular, I guess, that I do. I do remind myself that it's my job not to let this overwhelm me, and it's my job
Well, that's
to
good.
make sure that it doesn't overwhelm others. So,
That's good.
you know, I need to keep it together. I need to deal with my stress. I walk through it, you know, think it out, and kind of breathe, and then reattempt.
We learned that in adolescent psychology in college, was that, especially for coaching and things like this, that your attitude is infectious.
Right.
And
right.
you know, it's as easily as animals pick up your emotional levels.
Mhm.
Kids will also pick up your emotional
Oh,
levels.
totally.
And people around you can pick that up.
Mhm.
And I had a professor that once told me, he said, "You get stressed, you'll stress out the whole room."
Yep, and that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
really
Or
good.
if you panic, you're gonna panic everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Josie, it's been really good talking to you today, and